Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the September 8th, 2021 meeting of the Orangetown Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Let's start by having those seated at the table introduce themselves, please.
Tamara Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
Tom Tarenti.
Kevin Cornell.
Judy Smith.
Jack Demerjen, Zoning Enforcement Officer.
All right, thank you. First thing tonight, some sad news you probably have all heard, but Jim Zioli's mother passed early this morning, so very sad to lose Mrs. Zioli. Such a nice lady, always a pleasure to see, to run into her and have a chance to speak with her now and then. So we're going to miss Pat, and condolences to Jim. Very sorry for his loss. All right, let's get right into our agenda. The first item on our agenda is a review of the minutes from the August 17, 2021 meeting. Has everybody had a chance to look those minutes over?
This is like a dream for you.
Oh, I forgot to mention, Commissioner Kaplan won't be with us tonight. He had a prior engagement, so it'll be just the four of us.
I have one change. Paragraph starts with Chairman Parenti on page 1. The line that starts with Commissioner Smith noted that the commission needs to take a stand on this matter to send it to a public hearing.
Where are you, Judy?
Page 1.
Under new
Okay.
business, second paragraph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what I said was we need to have proposed text amendment or a proposed regulation in order to go to a public hearing, not take a stand. We need to have text of a regulation, and then we go to public hearing.
Okay, and Tammy, just one comment. Sort of in the middle of page 2, the paragraph begins, Mr. Goldblatt suggested. In the last sentence, Mr. Goldblatt noted that if West Haven and Milford allow recreational marijuana use in their towns, he believes it would benefit Orange as well. Is that what you remember his comment to be, Judy?
I think he meant that if Milford and West Haven were going to have it and benefit from it, why shouldn't Orange? Something like
Exactly.
that.
Yes, that's how I will switch it
Yeah,
to
so
make that obvious.
recreational sale of marijuana in West Haven's not going to benefit us.
No,
Right, but meaning, I think
Yeah.
is the recreational marijuana.
that's how
in
I-
Orange, yeah.
That's how I
Yep.
interpreted
All right.
it, and I will
That was my one
change it.
my one comment, so. Let's see, I guess you can make a motion to approve the minutes and I can second them because both Kevin and Tom were not here at the last meeting.
Right, but we can't pass them because we won't have a quorum,
I think we have a quorum tonight to conduct business,
but not to, they have to
And what?
abstain from voting,
and so that's 2 votes,
right? We have 2, we need
and it's 2
Kaplan.
votes. Kaplan's not here.
Right, so we can't approve the minutes.
I think we can.
Okay.
Well, I think we had this discussion last
This was the
week.
exact same scenario as last time, where as long as we have 4 recorded votes, that's quorum. We don't necessarily need
Need a
all of them to
majority?
be 4, yes.
Okay.
So let's try it. If it
Okay, then I'm
doesn't
going to
work,
try this.
if it
I'm
doesn't
going to
work, we'll
try
do it
to
again.
approve
Yeah.
the minutes.
Why don't you make a note to run that by Barbara or Vinnie, just for future reference? But I thought we were pretty definitive last week.
Or
And
we're
Mitch was
incorrect
agreeing
again.
with us that it was
Yeah,
proper.
this was the exact scenario as last week.
All right,
So I will make a motion that we approve the minutes from Tuesday, August 17th, 2021 zoning meeting.
and I will second that motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Abstain.
Abstain.
All right, Commissioners Cornell and Tarenti abstain. All right, next item, old business, discussion of recreational marijuana sales and regulation in Orange, and review of section 383-264A of the Orange zoning regulations for possible amendment. Jack, why don't we take care of that one first?
Sounds good to me.
get that out of the way. I think that's a shorter discussion, and then we'll dig in on the marijuana discussion.
Sounds good. So last week, I brought up a section of the regulations that I thought was a little dated, and at today's standards, a fairly unreasonable regulation, being that currently the language in the zoning regs prohibits combination plated vehicles from being stored outside of a garage, and you can only have one. So I kind of was looking to separate a combination plated vehicle from a commercially plated vehicle, being that they really are two different things. If a vehicle is registered to a business, it'll have a commercial plate. If a vehicle that does not qualify as a passenger vehicle is registered to an individual, it'll have a combination plate. So this update here that I emailed you, and you all should have a copy in front of you, just puts a separation on getting rid of the combination plate restriction, and while maintaining the commercial registration, vehicles will still be prohibited, or you can have one of them in an enclosed garage. And I included an advertisement section, which is mostly already covered under signage in the residential zone, but I included this as well. Advertisement and/or marketing of a service or business on its exterior of the vehicle will be considered a commercial vehicle and should be either stored in the garage or kept on a non-residential parcel.
All right. So let me just make sure I understand this. Any family in Orange in the residential district can park off-street in their driveway one vehicle that is a commercial plated vehicle.
Correct.
And they don't have to have it in an enclosed garage.
They do.
Does it say that?
It does, yes. Such vehicle must be operated by a resident of the dwelling, must be parked or stored only in an enclosed garage or accessory building, and may not exceed 7,500 pounds gross vehicle weight. And that includes all of those vehicles.
No. But isn't that, well, the reference to such vehicle, it's referring to items 1 and 2 above? It doesn't seem, I didn't read it that way. I read it that if your commercially plated vehicle has advertising on it, then it has to be in a garage. But your intention
Okay.
was,
All of them should be
Subsection
included.
4. Just make a subsection 4.
Okay.
Starting with
but I
that.
thought that's what you wanted to fix, because everybody has a pickup truck.
Well,
And not everybody can garage it.
I was after the pickup trucks that are unmarked, so no advertisement on the side of them, and are not used for commercial activity. It's registered to an individual, not a business.
The
If-
combos.
Right, combination plates. I was still suggesting, and if you want to change it, that's totally fine. This is just what I, proposed, was any commercially plated vehicle or any vehicle with marketing on it, regardless of its registration, you can only have one of them in an enclosed garage or accessory structure. If we want to change that, totally fine.
See, I thought that it would be, I thought we said that it would be very difficult, sometimes very difficult, if not impossible, for somebody to garage their pickup truck.
Right, but a pickup truck mostly is going to be a combination vehicle.
It's the commercial pickup trucks.
Right. If
So
a
people have a business, it's a commercial truck, and they're bringing it to the and they're bringing it to the residential neighborhood every night. That's
All
what
right.
we're trying to avoid.
Okay. I mean, that seems a little burdensome.
Absolutely. If we want to alter this language, that's completely fine. I was just
I mean,
proposing.
burdensome on you in terms of enforcement.
The people will
Agreed.
call.
Yeah.
right?
Oh, people.
I thought
yeah.
what you were really
Right.
going for was, the billboard. You don't want parked in the driveway, you want it parked in the garage.
I agree, but a commercially plated vehicle doesn't necessarily mean a pickup truck. It could mean
Oh.
any vehicle. It could be a van. It could be anything that's registered to a business. Well, yes, we still do have a weight restriction on it that exceeds 7,500 pounds, but I could be wrong. But let's say a box truck could be a commercial vehicle under that weight that could have advertisement or something on it outside of a garage.
All right, so if that's the case, I would suggest a few things. And let's see if this works for everybody. First of all, in subsection 3, I think you need the word with at
Where?
the beginning of that sentence. All right, because the lead into that is off-street parking accessory to a dwelling unit may include only one vehicle. And then number 3 is with advertisement and/or marketing of service or business on its exterior.
Okay.
All right? And then, no?
What, I'm sorry, why don't you finish, because I hate it when I get interrupted also.
The next thing I was, to fix the problem we just talked about. Before the word such, I would put any such vehicle identified in subsections 1, 2, and 3. And then go on, must be operated by a resident of the dwelling, must be parked or stored or enclosed in an enclosed garage or accessory building. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, you want some
So then
separation
it
between
makes
there.
what, the language in 3 apply to both 1 and 2, subsections 1 and 2.
Got it.
Does that seem right to you, Kevin? Or no?
I want to back in and make sure we
Yeah.
are trying to achieve the same thing. So, step 1 is, if anyone in town has a combo vehicle for their personal use, because that's how DMV makes them register it, they can park in their driveway, right?
Well,
Off-street, but in their driveway, right?
That's what I,
Combo, like,
Combo
Right.
plate.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Then what we're trying to address here is a commercially registered vehicle, a out-of-state commercially registered vehicle. Is there a third category where they're neither of those things, but they have advertisement for a commercial purpose on them? Is that the idea?
Right. There very well could be advertisement on someone's personal vehicle that is registered as a combination vehicle.
Okay, so then we want to tie it up with a bow that if it's any of those first 3 things, that it's still only allowed if it's owned and operated by the resident of the dwelling, parked or stored in an enclosed garage, and may not exceed 7,500 pounds.
I think that's what he was saying.
Okay.
Right, that's,
And I think the language I suggested,
All right, so we have the 3 categories,
Right.
and then something that relates the 4th, section 4 to the preceding 3.
How do you guys feel about lowering that gross vehicle weight?
I think that's
Does it
the
seem-
break on a F-250.
yeah, that is,
I think
your
that's
standard
in the DMV
F-250,
regs.
yeah, that's about what they're going to weigh.
I'm pretty sure that the DMV makes a break someplace right
The
around.
DMV is actually higher. I think it's, if your vehicle is over 12,500 pounds, it has to be registered commercial.
Okay,
yeah, you are missing a subsection.
yeah,
The first subsection should be a vehicle with a combination plate.
Well, we're trying to exclude combination plates. Because there's a difference between the combination and the commercial. The combination plate is what
Oh,
we
all
have
right.
currently.
All right, so,
he's silent
So-
in the 3rd one, because the only thing that puts it into the category is the commercial advertisements on it.
okay.
Right.
So
He's
we-
silent to the registration.
All right, so we don't need anything to reference the combination plate.
No,
At
I
all.
was excluding the word combination for that reason.
So, Oz, how do you make it's got to be owned and operated by that person and under 7,500 pounds relate to all 3? Do you start with that?
Exactly.
Well,
And then
Yes.
go to the, 1,
Subsections?
2, 3? Or do you summary it?
Well, just looking at it quickly, the way I did it, I think works.
Okay,
But we may be able to do it. You could say off-street parking accessory to a dwelling unit may include only one vehicle.
Such vehicle must be operated by the resident.
One vehicle
Okay.
parked or stored only in an enclosed garage or accessory building. Yeah, okay. Off-street parking accessory to a dwelling unit may include only one vehicle, which must be operated by a resident of the dwelling. Must be parked or stored only in an enclosed garage or accessory building, and may not exceed 7,500 pounds gross weight. Nah, I think that,
It's a little,
no, it doesn't. Why don't we just read back what I suggested before? It was just a change to 3.
Yes, you said with advertisement and/or marketing of a service or business on its exterior,
Period.
period. Any such vehicle must be owned and operated by a resident.
Any such vehicle referenced in subsections 1, 2, and 3.
there you go.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Any such vehicle identified in sections 1, 2, or 3 must be owned and operated by a resident of the dwelling, must be parked or stored only in an enclosed garage or accessory building, and may not exceed 7,500 pounds gross vehicle weight.
I mean, I think that works without studying it, but,
Yeah.
all
And
right.
do we want to make that a 4th subsection, or?
I thought it should be,
Okay,
any such vehicle.
Yeah.
got it. Okay, I'll rework that.
Well, again, any such vehicle referred to in 1, 2, and 3 above.
Okay. Yeah.
Subsections 1, 2, and 3 above.
Well, Jack can do a draft and
Yep.
send it to you.
And Barbara.
And Barbara, yeah, I'll have her look at this as well.
But
We're close enough.
I think, yeah, I think with that change, we'd be ready to send it to a public hearing, right?
Got it.
Okay. Everybody in agreement with that? Do we need a motion on that?
No, because this is just a draft, and then now once we get the finalized language,
All right.
we can include that on a
So
legal
you'll take care of the
notice.
legal notice, make sure it's proper language,
Yes.
timely done, and everything else, okay. All right, any other questions on that? All right. All right, next item on the agenda, we're still in old business, but now we want to talk about about recreational marijuana sales and regulation in Orange. All right. I guess let me, just for Tom and Kevin's benefit, since you weren't at the last meeting, it was just Judy Kaplan and I. I think, I mean, I came to the meeting thinking that I wanted nothing but a prohibition against the recreational sale of marijuana. And I don't know, is it fair to say, Judy, you probably were of the same mind entering the
Yes, I
meeting?
think that's stated in the minutes.
Right, okay. And I think Paul persuaded us that if it's legal under state law, and can be regulated in such a way that it's harmonious with, other zoning in town and the community in general, who are we to say it shouldn't be permitted at all? So, and then there were other upsides to allowing it, not the least of which was the 3% sales tax that the town would be eligible for. So I thought then we had some discussion, and the consensus was that we would amend the zoning regulations to impose restrictions on the recreational sale of marijuana. So we moved away from the outright prohibition and identified the type of regulations that we'd be interested in having. And most notably, we wanted to regulate hours of operation, we wanted to regulate signage, and we wanted to regulate the proximity of the marijuana sale use to churches and schools and, other activities like that.
But the other objective from that meeting was we wanted the full commission to give their thoughts, not just 3 of us, but we didn't see any harm in instructing Vinnie to go write regulations.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, there's no way we could, we're under some time pressure, kind of, because if an application came in
Right,
tomorrow.
but I did speak with Attorney Marino today. The state licensing might not start until next summer.
Yeah, all right, so
So
maybe we
he's
do
gonna
have some
look into
time.
that, so we maybe, aren't really under the gun as much as we thought.
But the fact is, if an application were to be made before we've done anything, it would be treated just as a regular retail use, permitted as of right in the commercial zone, C1 and C2 zones. So, we asked Vinnie to draft regulations, and the product of that request you've received.
Correct.
Did you have time to look that over?
I
mean,
did.
To me, if that's the direction we wind up going in, to me, I thought those regulations hit the nail on the head.
So I have some thoughts.
Yeah.
And I'll get them out before they die of loneliness.
Okay.
And that is that while I am completely ambivalent as to the use or non-use of marijuana, I see, if it's legal and someone wants to do it, that's their business. I don't see a particular need of encouraging it, but, the state decided otherwise. But in looking at the memoranda from Attorney Marino, a couple of things really just struck me as I think we should give careful consideration, because effectively, given the size of Orange, we're going to be granting an exclusive license to one operator to make a lot of money.
For 2 or 3 years.
And,
Oh,
That's until June
until
2024, right?
until perhaps they change that cap, which may or may not occur depending on what pressures come to bear. And I was thinking to myself, okay, how do we decide who that lucky recipient is? Because we may be trying in good faith to do something completely objective. First completed application in the door gets considered first.
I don't see how we
Okay.
have much choice to do otherwise.
Okay, so let's run a scenario where that first application through the door is from, IBM Cannabis, large corporation. And the second one through the door is from a historically disadvantaged population affected by the previous marijuana regulations. And we say, sorry, pal, you're out of, now Jack is stuck going, I'm sorry, person in that affected group, we can't consider your application, we only get one. And the resultant fallout from
Yeah.
that sort of mob scene.
Huh.
Second, there's going to be a Klondike-type gold rush to go for this because there's so much money in it. And all the unintended consequences of these regulations are going to come to light from the statute in the next year or so. So, in my mind, I was thinking, why not start off with a moratorium or a prohibition? And if it looks like things are calming down and there's a good process in place and there's not a lot of negative downsides to the town, change the regulation a year from now.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that one bit at all. I think that to me, Vinny sent something over to me later on in the day, and he said he just wanted to be clear on what our options are at this point. And he said, option number one, do nothing. In such case, if a cannabis establishment submits an application, it will be treated like any other retail establishment. So that's option number one. Option number two, adopt a moratorium. And he actually sent over language to amend the regulations to impose that moratorium for a year. Number three, prohibit it. And number four, regulate it. And when I say regulate it, I think what he meant and is what he drafted.
Right.
which again was what we asked him for.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Exactly
Well, we didn't know about the moratorium option at our last meeting
Right,
either.
right. So what I called Vinnie back this afternoon and asked him, could we notice 2 public hearings on the matter? One public hearing to regulate the recreational use, and another public hearing on the moratorium. I suppose, and have them noticed at this simultaneously, so that when we open the public hearings, we'd hear testimony from the public about the pros and cons of each of these potential avenues of, how we would proceed. And then eventually we would, after we heard all the testimony, we would close the public hearings and then do what we do. We would discuss the merits and make a decision. Do we want to, based on what we heard, do we want to adopt the regulations that were proposed either as is or with some amendment of some kind, or do we want to adopt the moratorium? I guess we could include a third notice of public hearing to prohibit the recreational use, because what we might hear things at the public hearing I expected, public hearing would be pretty well attended, and there'd be people in that business who would be coming to address the commission, tell us the pros and cons of the potential use. So maybe when all was said and done, after we heard it all, we just say, no, we're not interested in that. So maybe if we could hear 2, I'm sure we could hear 3.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know, we don't need to make a decision tonight as to which direction we're going. And I think all we have to do is set the table for how we're going to approach the issue. The one thing I don't think we should do is nothing.
Right.
No.
Right, we're all on the same page with
So
that.
I think that if we noticed all 3 public hearings, regulate, prohibit, moratorium, and then approach the problem in that way, I think that makes some sense.
I think that would be a reasoned way to take in the public input and information, and then
Make a more informed decision.
make a more informed
Yeah.
decision.
I mean, one of
If
the
it's
things.
allowed to go that way.
One of the things that Vinnie said, it may be, we were talking about it, when retailers consider coming to a certain location, the important metric for them is traffic. Traffic, right? So, this could obviously be very beneficial to whoever gets the license or whoever we approve, but it brings traffic to the area, which could benefit other business, or cause some other business to locate in that area because of the traffic. I don't mean traffic in the sense
Just
of
Yeah.
just
people in an area.
people in there,
Right. I think that, that is retail 101. Traffic, more eyes,
Right.
more volume. And given the size constraints of the different types of facilities you're allowed to have here, those retail spaces are available in Orange,
And maybe-
along the Post Road.
It may be much more desirable if the trips.
Well, but the trips are already there. You know,
I'm talking about the incremental trips
yeah,
from a recreational marijuana
yeah,
retailer.
yeah. I don't know if those are single-purpose purchasers, but
Wow. Buy some marijuana, pick up
I will find out in the
Munchies,
public
maybe they
hearing.
gotta get some
stereo.
snacks, I don't know.
pick up some new speakers.
They might
Little
need new
convenience
speakers.
store, I don't know.
Might need
Convenience store.
to stop at Dairy Queen,
Right.
if there are any of those left.
So I don't know if we want to start beating this horse tonight. I think
No,
we
no,
really
because
need
we
to.
don't even know where we're gonna wind up.
But
We
it's
have,
going to be in one of those 3 areas. I
Yeah.
thought what Vinnie did was very, very good. It was exactly what we asked for.
Yep.
Yes.
With a couple of changes, which I should go over now because you may want to include them as part of the
Sure.
I'm sorry, before we go over the changes, so did he opine that that was a permissible tract
Yeah.
to have effectively one public hearing considering three?
Well, he said two.
Yeah, but I don't, if we can do two, you don't think we could do three?
I'm just trying to think if we've ever held a public hearing to prohibit a use of something. I've never seen that.
No, we're doing it to amend our regulations on our initiative. The purpose of the amendment is to prohibit in any zoning district the recreational sale of marijuana. So it's an amendment to our regulations.
And I would just have
And
to
so's the moratorium, by the way.
Right,
Yeah.
that I know, yeah. 'cause
I would
we've
just
gone-
have to include what section of the regulations we're gonna put this prohibition or moratorium.
Vinnie could give you that in
Yeah.
half an hour.
Yep.
I'm sure. So, I mean, we have the regulations that would constitute, or that would regulate the sale, the retail sale of marijuana. We have the moratorium language. All we would need is the prohibition language.
Right, which is.
Yeah, and I
fairly
think in the
straightforward.
moratorium language, I don't know that Vinnie included a section of the zoning regulations that he would amend. So-
Right, that's what I was thinking, but he did include the section for if we chose to regulate it. Article 1, 383-19.1, he suggested that was his all-encompassing section to say recreational marijuana sales are prohibited in Orange.
Okay.
I would assume if we were gonna do a moratorium, it would probably be in that exact same spot,
Yeah.
but I would certainly confirm that with him.
Yeah, and when you look at his regulations, his draft regulations, he gives us, the very first section he talks about. On page 4. In subsection A. All right, either add cannabis establishments to the prohibited list in each of the zoning districts, or, in the alternative, add 383-19-1, where you're saying that they're permitted in the commercial C1 and C2 districts only and are prohibited in all other. I prefer that one, just from a drafting standpoint.
Oh, right, if we were to choose to regulate it, yes.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I don't know if it's important that we change that now, before we notice the hearing. And while we're at it, at the end of that sentence, only in, and are prohibited in all other districts now existing or hereafter constituted. Because who knows, we may, create another zoning district. I know technically if it's not allowed, it's prohibited, but still, let's,
So
include
if
that
the Todd district should return, you can't sell cannabis.
over your dead body, right?
And I do think that that would be the section where if we chose to prohibit or include a moratorium, it would probably go in that same spot.
Right, I
Yeah.
think you're right.
Yeah.
Tom, any comments?
Just a couple of very minor grammatical things. On page 2, Jack, just over halfway down, under retailer. The second line, just a comma after producers. And on, by the way, a 1,500-foot line is kind of a standard distance for this sort of a
Okay.
buffer.
What do we have
No,
here?
I'm asking,
Oh, is it?
Well, it's state law.
1,500 feet.
I mean, it's state law for package stores, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what he went off of, where it's a state requirement where you have to be X number of feet.
That's
I think he took it right from there.
It's not a requirement in the zoning I don't think there's anything in the zoning regulations that requires
No, it's only
I
state,
couldn't find it.
a liquor store
Yeah.
to be a certain number of feet away from a school.
only in state law. That's, I had that conversation with Vin, and I think he took a lot of the language right from the alcohol restrictions from the state legislation, so.
Yeah.
So if that is a guideline, then we should be envisioning that a cannabis establishment could be wherever we currently see a liquor store.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah. Possible location.
I mean, if they
Well,
have
I
a
don't-
license,
I
they have to
follow
be
it.
1,500. Well, if the liquor store had to have a 1,500-foot radius restriction, then,
But with the stipulation based on population, you couldn't have that kind
no,
of
no,
frequency.
one,
You're
but,
gonna have one, but it
for
could be,
example,
basically be
it could
wherever
go
liquor
into
store is
the,
now.
Oh,
Just
I
for
got you.
imagining,
it
where
could go
this
into the
go?
vacant space, down from DSW that used to be a liquor store, as an example.
Actually, they just reopened another one there.
Oh, okay.
Just
But
opened.
there's
or
no,
going to
there's
open
no
recently.
requirement that you be 1,500 feet away from a liquor store.
No, he's saying where
saying-
current liquor stores exist,
Yeah,
those are all possible locations for a recreational
For the
marijuana
one
sales.
we're gonna get.
because they comply with that 1,500.
Right,
Which is
exactly,
what he
because they're
meant-
under the
that's what he
same, yeah, the same restrictions.
Thank you for explaining it.
Yeah, no problem.
Like the adult establishments, the retail, they have a bunch of restrictions as well with regard to how many, and it's, I don't know what it is, but we could look at that too.
Right. Yeah, I think that's where the 1,500 feet
Comes
comes
in.
from. And it's measured from the property line to property line, I think. Right?
Correct, the closest property line
As,
to
as the crow
closest property
flies.
line. Yeah.
Right, right, which makes it a little more stringent right
Yeah,
off the bat.
Yeah, because it's not from like door to door, front door to front door or whatever.
Except for those of us who fly our private planes around town. And on
No.
page, just one more.
Yeah.
Excuse me, page 7. Roman numeral 6, Jack,
Yep,
logistics. That first word on the second line, I think, wants to be where rather than whether.
where? Got it.
I thought in some respects, and I discussed this with Vinnie too this afternoon, that the regulations he drafted were maybe broader than what we were permitted to regulate under the applicable law, applicable state law. Because the state law is pretty clear that you can regulate hours of operation, signage, proximity to schools and churches, et cetera. But it also added, and I think this is where it, an argument can be made that the regulations are fine. It also said that, it could be a special use. And,
Oh, yeah, it would-
we could require that it be a use permitted by special
Yes.
exception, as opposed to permitted as of right.
Correct. I think that I would
And
absolutely
with that, that sort of
recommend.
opens the door for us to look at traffic, for example, to look at
Impact on the
a
neighborhood.
submission to the police department on security,
Right.
all that, impact to the neighborhood, impact on property values, all the things we consider
Under special permit.
under special permits.
Yeah. Would have to be.
But that was, those were my only observations on that, and the only change I would make is the one I gave you.
Choosing obviously the simpler
Yeah.
way to put,
With that
To include
language,
that and all of
now
that,
existing or hereafter
right.
constituted at the
yeah,
end of it.
no, I agree.
So are we clear on what we want to do? I mean, we will set all three for a simultaneous public hearing.
And if you think
We'll see what we
that's-
learn.
Promises to be lively.
Yeah,
Right, so
I hope
to-
so.
to that
Yeah.
point, maybe a different venue. Maybe we have to meet at High Plains. If you expect
Okay.
a lot of people, just talk about that with Vinnie.
Will do. I'll try to set something up for then. And I do
It'd be
just,
good to know in advance somehow.
yeah. I do want to point out that I think right now our next meeting date is either 14 or 13 days from today. And legally, to hold a public hearing, I have to get the first notice in the paper at least 10 days prior to that meeting. So I'm going to be drafting these hopefully tomorrow with Vin, and try to get the 3 legal notices in the paper. But we also have to wait and hear from regional planning authorities before we can take action. I think we might be able to open the
Oh, yeah.
public
Yeah, yeah.
hearings, but
You
I
can't
don't.
vote.
Yeah, I don't think we could vote yet until we hear back from them.
Right.
All right, well, whatever it takes to do it the right way.
Right,
We're not-
right, and we're not as quite under the gun as we,
Okay.
assumed we were. So, but I just wanted to
So
make
if it goes
everybody
off
aware.
until the first meeting in October, God, it's, I can't believe
Exactly.
it's already, then,
Then so be it. Yeah.
right.
Just wanted to make everybody aware.
All right, so you're clear on what you need to do with Vinnie.
Yes.
I'll give him a call too tomorrow.
I'll try to get a hold of him first thing in the morning.
So we'll have 4 public hearings on the next agenda.
Yes, pending the revision to the commercial vehicle
Right.
section, yes.
And 3 related to the recreational sale of marijuana. All right. All right, next, I guess that's it. We don't think, we don't need a vote on that. All right. Item number 3 on the agenda is new business. Is there anything that we want to bring up under that topic? All right, and move on then to item number 4, which is a report of the zoning enforcement officer.
A lot of what I had was, what we obviously went through already tonight. The only other thing is next week next meeting, we might have a bond reduction request for Beecher Walk, which is the development behind the transfer station that has been going on for a long time, is finally kind of kicked into gear. And actually, there might be another bond release as well for the other half of the Fieldstone bond. We released the performance bond, and they have a cash bond as well. That's pending, so we might see those on the next agenda as well. Other than that, I do not have much. If anybody has any questions or anything, feel free.
How about the senior living
On Indian River?
on
Yeah,
Indian River?
they're chugging away for
Okay.
sure. They give me weekly updates. I know the building inspector was on site this week, and we were talking about it a little bit, but they're piecing away at it. That's for sure.
And what, if anything, is pending on Edison Road? I just jogged my
Edison.
memory.
We were supposed to have a court hearing Thursday of last week, which was continued by the court about
Yeah.
10 minutes before the meeting, which was kind of frustrating, but that is also still
On
moving along.
what project?
Oh, no. Oh, on Edison?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were talking about the enforcement action that's kind of going on there at
Creo?
Zero Edison with Cousin Creo, right?
No, I wasn't talking about that. Wasn't there, we approved the VA, and that's
The VA.
done and up
The
and
ink,
running.
the ink company.
Ink company.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Oh, they've been done.
Yeah,
That's done.
for a while.
Wow.
Yeah, they've
All
been
right.
done.
Remind me
that-
of things.
You might
Edition?
be, yeah, you might be thinking of NewMet or
New Met,
NewMay.
right.
They have they're finishing up an addition to the rear of the building
All
back
right,
there.
and that's what's going on Edison Road. I mean,
Correct.
I know there was a lot of activity.
Right.
Yeah, at one point there was, but FedEx is done.
Not
The
much
ink
left.
company is done. The VA's been open, so a lot of those projects have closed out.
Okay. All right, any questions for Jack? All right, I know Kaplan's not here to make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Do we have to
but
stay here
somebody
all
else
night?
is gonna have to- Somebody else is gonna have, somebody else gonna have to figure it out.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All right, we have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do we have a
Second.
second from Commissioner Smith? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, that concludes our September 8th meeting.
Great. Thank you, everybody.